Good evening, my name is Jack Dearborn. This is I'm chairman of the Weare Zoning Board of Adjustments. This is the December 4th, 2018 meeting. This evening we have 4 cases. First case is 1118, administrative appeal that was continued. Second case is 1218, administrative appeal. The third case is 1318, that's a variance from Article 18.2.3. And the last case to hear this evening is case 1418. And it's a variance from Article 1711, Article 3.51, and Article 28.9. That said, everybody sign in. Did I see you this evening on the list? Okay, just so kind of a brief overview of what we're going to do this evening. What I will do is we will take the first case on the list, which is 1118, and what I will do in this case is a continuance. But normally what I would do for the first time of a case through is that I will read the application to state what it's about, so everybody understands, not only people on the board, but also people in the audience and at home that may be watching this. At that point, I will ask the board if first I will ask for a motion from the board to accept the article. This is the application. The whole purpose of that is to make sure that the standards have been met to at least hear the case. Sometimes when we get through the middle of the case, we'll find we need something else. If we do, we will ask the applicant to come back with additional information if we don't have it at that point. If we do accept the application, it'll be a vote from the board. Everything requires three yes votes. So once we've accepted the application, I'll ask the applicant to get up front, or her agent that's representing the case that evening. At that point, I will ask if the board has any questions of the applicant before we start. The reason I do that is because sometimes the cases are not obvious, and we'd like to understand before we get halfway through the case and figure out if it's something different. So if there's a board member that has a question to ask, he may ask the applicant. After that, I'll ask the applicant to please state his case. In the case of variances, we require them to read the 5 points of hardship question and the respective answer. Why? Everybody hears it. We have it written down. This way everybody in the room that don't have a copy of the paper at least hears what's going on. And or at home, or this is memorialized in the form of a video, which will be posted sometime in the future on YouTube, and also minutes. So after the applicants come up and spoke to his 5 points of hardship or the appeal or whatever is here, a special exception tonight. After that, I will ask the board if they have any questions. If not, I'd ask the applicant to please sit down. At that point, I will ask any approving abutters that wish to get up and speak in favor of the application. They may do so. They have to come up, state their name, so we can get it down for memorializing this meeting. And anytime Courtney has any questions what's going on or missed something, she can interrupt the meeting and ask to clarify. I want to make sure we get this all done right. After all the approving abutters get up, I'll ask for disapproving abutters, one at a time, come up and speak. Then public at large, other boards. After that, I'll ask the applicant to come back up again, and they can rebut anything that has been said. And then I'll go one more time through approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large, other boards. After that, I will shut down the public meeting, and then the board will deliberate. In the case of a variance, 5 points of hardship, we will take a vote on each point. And you require 3 yes votes. If there's 5 people on the board, you need 3 out of 5. If we don't have 5 people here this evening, which it looks like we will, you may request a continuance before we even start. So everybody can get a best chance to get 3. You can go forward with even 3 people if the applicant wishes to. So once we do that, we will vote each article, each prong on the 5.1 hardship or the administrative appeal as whole. And after that, we will call for a motion, always in the affirmative, even though if we don't think it's a good motion. We want it yes, because yes means yes, no means no. It makes it real simple. So once we have a motion, I'll ask for a second. And after that, I'll ask for discussion. And usually, this is where we put conditions on for the voting in terms of the article. If the board deems that there's additional conditions to be put on, we will then raise it at this point. After that, we will vote, move to the third, fourth, fifth, second, third, fourth, fifth prong on administrative appeal. And at the end, if you got 3 votes on at least 3 of these all 5 prongs have to have at least 3 votes. Any one not making 3 is a failure, and you don't get the variance. In the case of variance application, if you don't get at least 3 votes for an administrative appeal, it fails. Should you fail, or somebody doesn't like either answer if it passes or it fails, you can request a rehearing within 30 days. It needs to be in writing. It has to be something different. It isn't because you don't like the answer. It has to be something specific. Because we will look at it and see if it has merit for rehearing. If it's not, we won't rehear it. You have a direct path to the Superior Court to challenge our decision. Okay? So, we have our first case. Malcolm, you weren't here for 1118?
No, I wasn't. Would you like me to step down for that?
Please.
Okay. Fair enough.
Gary? No sense of coming up with him.
Leave that here.
Donnie, I wouldn't come up because
Thanks, Gary.
you'll know why in a second.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. The last time we were here, case 1118, administrative appeal, is a continuation of George W. Merrill appeal to the planning board decision. The last meeting, the attorney, kind of from my urging, was going to talk with the town attorney and see if they could both understand where both positions are. That conversation has happened this afternoon late. Chip got a call from Attorney Marshall, which is George Merrill's attorney, requesting continuance because they weren't able to close their discussion in time for tonight's meeting. Is that correct, Chip?
Yes.
To that end, I would ask for a motion to continue this to the next date, which is, what's that?
January 8th.
January 8th.
I'll make the motion to continue case number 1118 until January 8th.
Is there anybody here for that case that was here last time? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. They were discussing between the attorneys, and something came up on one of them and couldn't finish it. So they asked for that, and so if it's shoe on the other foot, you probably want that. So we're trying to make sure that we have a legal position for this, because it has been discussed between attorneys. Okay, any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. So we will continue this to January 8th. Thank you. Okay. Malcolm? And let's see. Donnie, you want to come up here? By the way, the members were seated with Gary, myself, Stu, and, okay. So for the next case, this is case 1218, administrative appeal, and for this case, I'm going to see Don Rogers, Stu Richmond, myself, Mike, and Malcolm. Okay. Let me read the front page here. This is case 1218. It's Travis Cochran, address 275 Quaker Street, And the abutter is Jill and, I guess it's Sheila Duquette?
Gil and Shelley.
Shelley? Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
And this property address 271 Quaker Street, tax map and lot number 404-85, zone residential. Property description, 1.6 acres, so it's a substandard lot, probably pre-existing to zoning. Frontage 279, front setback 50, and side setback is 30. Okay, proposed or existing use. Building department proposes to violate frontage and side setbacks and potentially approve a second illegal residential unit. Okay? I object, the applicant. Okay, here we go. Why does your proposed use require an appeal to the zoning board? First it says NA, then below it has, I appeal the building department's approval of an illegal building permit. Okay. We have a checklist checked off. We have administrative appeal signed October 15th, 2018. There is a couple of pages of narrative from the applicant. And there is some evidence by Google Maps for setbacks on various properties showing, I guess, is distance to the sidelines and frontage. There is a Google sort of an outline overlay showing on 271 where their opinion, Cochran's opinion of where the setback should be and where the proposed building is going to be. There is an attached mailing property of butters. There is tax map. Let's see here. And there is Charles, this is a letter from the town of Weare. Charles F. Meany III, Code Enforcement Officer, back to Travis Cochran, and it basically states response for determining zoning setbacks. And then there's a administrative appeal from Mr. Cochran to Chip Meany, administrative appeal application. There is a property card, both sides. Okay. There's Mr. Cochran in the house. Please come up. Okay.
We're gonna vote on this being complete.
We're gonna do it right now. Okay? We're gonna vote on accepting the application.
Move to accept.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor? Do we accept
Aye.
the
Aye.
application? Aye. Sounds like 5 and 0.
Yep.
5 yes, 0 no. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, just so I get it straight.
Sure.
You believe that the interpretation of 351 was done incorrectly by the building inspector?
That's correct.
Okay. He is a code enforcement officer in this case. Okay. Why don't you, if you want to summarize
Sure.
your writing, or if you
Yep.
if you really want to read it, you can
No,
read it.
I think I can make it a little shorter.
Okay.
So my neighbor Gil proposes to build a barn, and I'm fully in favor of that. We discussed it over the last year or two, and general discussions were, there'll be a barn, it'll be big, it'll be a wonderful shop. I was enthusiastic on his side, or for his sake. And we had all sorts of profitable conversations. We shared a surveyor to lay down the property line so the setbacks could be correctly calculated. And then the tentative stakes went up. And Gil and I talked a little bit, and there was a discussion, I forget if I initiated, saying, may I check them, or if Gil said, hey, the stakes are up, do you want to check them? But either way, I ended up over there. And at that point in time, I realized that the setbacks were incorrect. And
When you mean incorrect?
Sure, I'll expand on that.
Not compliant? Or-
Non-compliant,
or your
that's correct.
understanding
So-
shifted when you,
No, non-compliant with the zoning code of, I believe, 2010. In section 18.2.2 and 18.2.3, which covers residential properties and I believe also agricultural, it says that the front setbacks are 50 feet and the side setbacks are 30 feet. And the setbacks here did not conform to that.
well, 351 allows relaxation of that.
It absolutely does. And the text of 351 says, "A single-family residence may be constructed on a lot which does not comply with said requirements, provided that it shall meet the setback requirements as nearly as possible." So the question is this proposed barn, or outbuilding or detached garage, a single-family residence?
But if you look at 18.2 and 18.2.3.
Yep,
You'll see that it speaks about what's allowed on the lot.
absolutely.
And it's garages and detached, specifically detached.
It does, and I believe that that further makes my point. So if we look in the residential section, it gives a list of things that are allowed in residential areas, and they include both residences and detached garages. Now, given Section 18 contemplates these two varieties of buildings, Section 3.5 says effectively, of these two types, it does not say a single-family residence or a detached barn. It says a single-family residence may be constructed.
Is the residence a dwelling or the entire site?
Both the zoning code and the building code speak to that. The building code, I believe in section 1.2, says that a building permit shall be required for each dwelling unit, non-residential dwelling unit, or renovations to same. And it goes on to explain that a dwelling unit is a building, modular structure, or portion of, containing normal housekeeping facilities of one family and designed for and intended for residential purposes. So both the zoning code and the building code both draw distinctions between the class of barns, detached buildings on the one hand, and residences on the other. And section 3.5.1 says that the exceptions to setbacks apply only to the residences.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clear.
Sure.
Now, sometimes anytime there's, here's the issue. When zoning was finally approved in 1988, we were late to the game. There's a lot of non-compliance. There were lots of record that once zoning was passed, fell into a category of non-compliant. It means that they have status as a non-compliant. The wording of 3.51, as I can recall, because I was on the board that actually wrote, I was the vice chair of the board that wrote the zoning and submitted it to the town for approval. Because of these small lots, and this one may not be greatly small, but the house was sited on it before zoning. So nobody cared where anything went, setbacks and such. So this 3.1 was sort of a safety valve for making exceptions. And even though 18.2.3 says it allows detached garages, your particular interpretation of the zoning is that, for your benefit, it does not include a barn. The nature of the language in 3.5.1, if that was meant to be a special exception, which needs to be called out as such, we would then determine if that's a special exception, the board. Since there is nobody detailed in here as whether it's a special exception or who gets to make the choice, it defaults to the code enforcement officer or the building land use coordinator. So I guess the decision is the applicant already has some work done on the.
And this issue was raised before any work was done, because I was certainly cognizant that I didn't want anyone to waste money.
The issue was raised to this gentleman over here in writing for an appeal. So that all happened after you filed the appeal?
That, I believe that's incorrect. I believe that it was raised in writing to the town attorney, to Chip, and to the Board of Selectmen before any work was done.
But that's a nice discussion point, but my precise point is, was that raised before you filed this appeal? Probably before.
Was that raised? Could you?
No, did you file this appeal before the work was done?
I believe that I filed the appeal about 2 or 3 days after the work started. The day that the work was done, before it started, I went down and was told that I needed to do it in writing, so I did immediately.
But my point I'm making is, you already did the work. And then you didn't like the work, because it probably happened when you didn't think it was gonna happen. You challenged him in writing after the fact.
So first of all, I'd call your attention to the state's manual for zoning boards of appeals, which specifically says that the fact that work has started is not relevant to these discussions. The second thing is...
If he's non-compliant.
Right. And I think that the text of the town zoning code is very clear that he's non-compliant.
Well, that's what we're here.
Absolutely agree.
Make a decision.
Now, there was one point you made, which is saying that when the board has not spoken, then it falls to the building department. And I agree with that.
No. When the zoning
Okay,
is not specific who takes the action.
right.
Because you will see in this book, some places where it requires an extra look, it'll say, by special exception. You have to come and apply for a application for special exception. We hear it, we grant it to you if we feel you met the intent of the zoning. What we're dealing here tonight is administrative appeal, which
Right.
you challenge either the select board on their interpretation of zoning, the planning board on the interpretation of zoning, or any agent of the town.
That's correct.
That's what we're here tonight. You want to say anything else?
Yes, just the text of 18.2.2 and 18.2.3 is clear on what the setbacks are, and the exceptions in Article 3.5 are clear that it applies, and it's, in their own words, a single-family residence. Now, perhaps your thought is that the word residence implies barn, in which case I would ask...
No, resident would imply the entire use of the land.
Okay. There is also a section which is in the zoning code back at my seat, which I could get, which it says that non-conforming structures that intrude on the setbacks may be extended, but if they are in the front setback, they may not be extended.
Will you say this?
I can grab my copy. 1 second. Thank you, Jim. Section 3.5.4, which is within the overall section of non-conforming.
Right.
An existing structure, and my understanding is that what you're saying right now is the phrase "a single-family residence" applies not specifically to a single-family residential building, but to the cluster of buildings that make up a small holding or whatever.
This means not more non-conforming.
Right.
The reason this is here, let's suggest the house is built 40 feet. Okay, where it normally would be a 50-foot setback. Just, and on a small lot, non-conforming lot. If you want to put a mudroom off to the side or a porch or something on the side, it just says you can't become more.
Right. So you can put it off the side or back, but you cannot put it to the front. You cannot intrude further into the front 50-foot setback boundary. We agree entirely on that. And so what I'm saying is that right now, there is a non-conforming lot with a house on it, and the proposal is, if we use your framing, which is single-family residence refers to all of the structures collectively, then this is violating 3.5.4 because it is becoming more non-conforming by pushing further into the setback that you just discussed.
But just for being very specific. Is the notice that I read this tonight, the notice that's up on the board? Your appeal is against 18.2.3. Now you're using evidence for 3.3.3 3.51 and 3.54. You didn't call them out.
Okay,
I'm being very precise because if we didn't hold this true to the proper thing you're appealing to, we can't give you relief for something else. So,
okay. I'm appealing Chip's letter to me, which specifically called out 3.5.1.
but your application is 18.2.3.
When you say,
And what did I read earlier today? I have that here somewhere. Where's the notice for today?
so my understanding is that I'm saying there's a violation of 18.22 and 18.23, and you're saying, Travis, but you need to read section 3.5, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm willing to read section 3.5, and I just want to read all of it, including 3.5.4. I mean, you were the one who introduced the concept of non-conforming, or no more additionally non-conforming.
But I'm suggesting in 3.5.1, this person has the latitude based on some prima facie issues on the property. And so why isn't he pushing it over to the left and back more? Why isn't he moving it to the left on the lot and not back further?
I agree with you, especially given the wording of 3.5.
No, why isn't he doing that?
I'm not sure.
Well, I went up and took some pictures.
Okay.
And looked, and I can see evidence where the four corners are gonna be. And I can see that he has a driveway, and if he pushed it to the left, he'd be into his driveway. And
So
I'm not sure
anyone can
what-
violate zoning laws if they don't
No,
want to
but-
infringe on their driveway or move it 10 feet?
Well, he wouldn't be able to have the existing lot that he wouldn't, it basically is a hardship fitting stuff on the lot, because he has no access down over the bank.
So the law provides for hardships, and that's where variances come in.
Well, then, this goes your way. He has an opportunity of variance.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, that is a fallback, should the board not decide in your case. I'm just saying,
I believe it's a
These are-
fallback if they decide in my favor. If they don't decide in my favor, then I can't apply for a variance.
you can't apply for variance. Most people can.
Right.
Well,
Now, there's an additional point, which is I got a registered letter from the building department saying that in cases of non-conforming lots, which everyone agrees this is a non-conforming lot, and the wording was the setbacks become 30 feet from the front. And that is incorrect and not in, well, you're shrugging. I mean, do we not care about
I
the zoning
agree.
code?
The precise language on his, but what I believe he's referring to is 351.
That's correct.
And that is the wiggle room that is allowed. In order for it to get this passed, there's a lot of people that had non-conforming lots. And this language is inserted to provide a safety valve. So they have to come in for variances, then have to come in for this.
So anyway, Chip's letter said that non-conforming lots, the setbacks change to 30 feet and 15 feet on the side. And what I wanted to call out is that statement is not in keeping with the actual zoning code, section 3.5.1, which says it shall meet the setback requirements as nearly as possible. And I believe that the building department was not paying attention to or enforcing that aspect of the zoning code.
He may have taken an abrupt position.
And that's why I'm appealing it.
No, you're appealing
I'm appealing the decision.
18.2.3. Okay? And let's go back and read that. (18.2.1) basically talks about which which zone you're in, and what the size of the lot and frontage. 18.2.2 is 50-foot frontage, and 18.2.3 is the side. Any questions from the board of the applicant before we go and open it up to the public? You have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Okay, any approving of the, let's get this right. If you approve on his appeal action, which means he'd like this to be not where it is located today, right now. He'd like to have it moved someplace else to be, in his interpretation, compliant. If you're in support of the appeal, anybody willing to do that, please come up. Okay, being none, all those who wish to speak against the appeal, anybody wish to come up? Sure.
Hi, never done this before, but I'll do my best. I just
Your
came
name,
down.
please?
My name is Gil Duquette. I'm the owner of the property. When I started looking at buildings and whatnot to put up, I came down to the town. I asked permission, where, if I was in any historical zones, so I could go through the right channels, Came down, talked to Chip, made sure I was in the right areas, setbacks. I talked to Travis, done everything the right way, got my permit, and started proceeding. Then this all happened. Like I said, I got probably $15,000 into this already. I don't have a whole lot of money to go back. I thought I did everything right by just doing everything I was supposed to, filled out proper paperwork, asked as many questions as I could, and seemed to all come to a screeching halt. So now I have a driveway that the wife is almost falling into with the Jeep every night because I can't backfill, I can't move forward. I lost the building, the guy that was going to put up my building now, because I had to wait this other pumping out my foundation as we speak because I can't continue. And just getting frustrated and would like to move forward. I get along with most of my neighbors, thought I'd go along with him. Things seem to have changed, so I would just like to have you guys consider and let me continue my building. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other disagreeing with others who'd like to speak? Come on up. Name, please.
Jack Meany, 282 Quaker Street in
You
Weare,
live
diagonally across from
the hill.
Mr. Duquette. Just,
almost down the hill, whatever the other.
well, yeah, just about 100 feet from the end of his driveway. I know that he's tried to do everything. That lot is not really a conforming lot, and a lot of the lots on Quaker Street in that general area are not conforming. My lot doesn't conform from the setbacks from the road to the front of the house. My neighbors, Carrera's, that does. There's two houses right there from him. Mr. Duquette's in an area where his house is in that non-conforming lot. He doesn't have a lot of options, I know that. I've looked at that lot on my own, and you can see on one side, on the east side, heading down the hill, it drops way off. In the back, he's got, septic and a gas, his gas service for his house is there. And I think he's trying to do everything properly, and I'd like to see that he gets, puts a garage up, and he wants to get his stuff undercover, his equipment, his snowmobiles and stuff like that, and I think that he's trying to do it the right way, and it's not going to be just some tar paper shack. And I think that he's done everything in compliance with that, and I'd like to see him get his building up.
Thank you. Any other person wish to speak? Name, please.
Don Carrera. So I live directly across from Gilly Shell, right? And when they put, and I live at 272 Quaker Street, when the road was originally put in, they put it really close to the house. Whatever, that's okay. But the fact is that if anybody would possibly be upset over that garage, would be Lynn and I, because it's right directly across from the house. But you know what? We support these guys, right? They got a non-conforming lot. There is absolutely no reason why they can't put up this building. It's going to be a nice building, right? It's good for them. It's good for the neighborhood, and I fully support this. Now, what we ought to think about is what's the real reason we're slow rolling this, okay? Just because somebody who lives out in the field doesn't really want to look at the building, all right? I think that's really the real reason we're here tonight. Not the fact that we have variances and we're looking at zoning laws and anything else. But the fact is that somebody's trying to do something nice, and the whole reason we moved into this town 22 years ago was because New Hampshire is a great place to live. And why you have to go around and bother your neighbors over something petty like this is really beyond me. And I fully support this garage, and in fact, I'll help him build it if he needs to.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak against this application?
Let me bring something up. You asked for approving the butters first,
Well,
didn't you? These are approving.
no.
They're denying.
Disapproving of the appeal.
They're disapproving the
Yes,
appeal.
approving it. First one came, nobody came up for supporting the
Right.
approval of this appeal. These people are going
Okay.
against it, speaking against it.
Got it.
Other boards, is there anybody else? Other boards, public at large? Travis, if you wish to come up and rebut anything that's been said, you're welcome to come up.
I have no additional points, thank you.
Oh, thank you. One more time, I know there's no rebuttal to the rebuttal, so with that, any questions from the board? No? Okay, at this point, I will close down the public hearing on this meeting, and we will move to, it is, I got it as 8:05. And motion to accept, which means it's always made in the positive. So yes means yes, we overrule Chip, and no means no, we let the building as it stands, so to speak.
I'll make the
Motion?
motion to accept case number 1218.
I'll second.
Thank you. At this point, we have discussion.
I'll jump in. I think, 351 seems pretty clear to me that it gives the building inspector leeway to make those decisions when you have a non-conforming lot. So I think in this case, it was your call, and you felt it was the most appropriate location, and seemed like it was good for the spot. So that's going to be my opinion.
I agree. I just wanted to make sure we get everything on the table. That's why I ran the discussion the way I did. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows why we're here and give everybody a chance to talk. So with that, anybody else wish to speak? All those in favor of supporting the application, say aye. All those not in favor of supporting the application, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So is that 0-5? Anybody vote yes?
No.
Everybody voted no?
Correct.
0-5. So you got your continuation. Thank you. You have if you wish, you've got 30 days to appeal to Superior Court. Everybody who comes here that doesn't get what they think is the right answer has that opportunity. Thank you. Okay, next. This is case 1318. This is Sean and Christian Deanan requesting relaxation 25-foot setback on residential zone at 179 Walker Hill Road, tax map 40253. This case, I'm going to step down and let the vice chair chair this session.
Are you going to seat Gary? Yeah, Gary, do you want to come up? Please and thank you. All set? My name is Michael Meyer. I'm the vice chair of the zoning board. I'll be chairing this particular case, 1318. If I could, we'll reseat the board, if you guys could introduce yourselves. Sir, just
What's that?
just introduce yourselves for the, we'll reseat the board.
Don Rogers, alternate. Stu Richmond, member.
Gary Shelto, alternate.
Malcolm Wright, member.
All right, we have in front of us case 1318, Sean and,
Speak up a little bit, Mike.
sorry, Sean and Kristen Dynan, sorry about that, 529-0466 at 179 Walker Hill Road in Weare, 03281, same owners at the same address. The property in question is the same, 179 Walker Hill Road in Weare, tax map 40253, zoned residential. It is a property description of 2.2 acres with 210 foot of road frontage, 39.2 of rear frontage, 691.34 feet of on the south line and 750.55 feet on the north line. If I said inches, I meant feet, obviously. Proposed use or existing affected, we are proposing to add a mudroom on the north side of the house and a four-season porch on the existing deck in the back of the house. And why does your proposed use require an appeal to the Zoning Board of Adjustment? It's required an appeal because it will encroach on the 25-foot setback on the north side of the property. We're going to encroach 8 feet into the setback, but it's the only place to build the addition since it is on the driveway side of the house. With that, we have a completed application, 5 points of hardship for the variance, signed application, list of abutters, looks like a property card. I believe there was a tax map as well. Tax map, is this the right one, 402? And a site plan behind that, thank you. Okay. At this time, could I get a motion to accept the application?
Move to accept the application.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5-0. All right. Any questions on the application before we get started? Okay, if you want to come up and state your name, and we'll go ahead and get going.
Sean Dynan, good evening.
Good evening. What we typically do is just have you read, well, obviously, if you'd like to make a statement, you're free to do that. If not, you just go ahead and read each of the 5 points of hardship and your response. And as the Chairman Dearborn said, it's just to get everything into the record.
Okay. Guess I gotta know where the 5 points of hardship start. Filled out about 5 pages of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay.
You have a copy of the application?
Yeah, is it where the lowercase I is at the first one?
It's the top of the page says application for variance.
Page 1 down the bottom, says.
Sorry, never done this before.
Not a problem.
Oh, okay. All right. So you already read some of it. Do I have to go through that again? Or is that different? Oh, you
I read
first page.
the application piece, but
Gotcha.
this is the variance.
So read this word for word?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are asking that the terms pertaining to the 25-foot setback on the north side of the house be waived to allow for a mudroom to be constructed on the driveway of the house. The granting of the variance will not be contrary to public, and some of these, I thought the wording, I don't know, I was unclear on the meaning of the terms, but I did my best with the wording of it. The granting of the variance will not be contrary to public interest because it will be a professionally constructed addition that will help to add property value, rather than diminish property value, to the area. There will be no hazards presented that would result in being contrary to public interest. The variance requested will not be contrary to the spirit of the ordinance, as I understand it, because it will use a small area of the setback. We understand that setbacks exist to prevent overcrowding with structures abutting too closely. We are only asking to use 8 feet of the 25-foot setback. And that has cushion in it too. We're really only going about 5 feet in, but I wanted to add a little extra there.
Very good.
But we're not gonna, I don't see us using it. Justice will be done granting relief by variance because the builder of the property built the structure to the limit of the setback, they actually built it 3 feet from our setback. On the driveway side, with no room for future growth, the board would be helping us a great deal since we have no other options. We need more space for our growing family and don't want to move since we've made great friends in the neighborhood. Granting this variance will not diminish the value of surrounding properties. In fact, it should do the opposite and help to raise the value of surrounding properties. We are adding close to 400 square feet of quality living space to the structure. Special conditions, our house was built closely to the 25-foot setback where the driveway is located. Unfortunately, this is the side where an addition would most likely be added, and the builders did not plan for this. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because we are only encroaching slightly into our setback, and it will not affect general public use. The proposed use is reasonable because we are only asking for a small area of the setback to add some functionality to our home to better our standard of living. Special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. Our house was built closely to the 25-foot setback on the north side where the driveway is located. Unfortunately, it's kind of the same as the other question. Unfortunately, this is the side where an addition would be most likely needed, and the builders did not plan for it. The area inside the door of entry is also very crowded at the top of the basement stair and presents a safety problem. So where we come in the side, in the kitchen, there's about a 3-by-4 foot landing open to the stairway down to the basement. And this is like where we have a coat rack and everything just kind of piles up, and it's like 4 of us trying to like get everything in that little area. It's tight, that's why we want the mudroom off the side. The property cannot be reasonably used because the house wasn't built for long-term practical use. The very small 3-by-4 foot space at the entry door is also at the top of an open flight of stairs to the basement and is quite dangerous for people to use simultaneously. Okay. That's the last one, right?
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add? with that?
No, I think that covers everything.
We've got your lot plan here. If you don't mind just coming up and,
Actually, there is one thing I'd like to add with that. So the existing deck already comes off of here 6 feet. So the existing deck already encroaches 3 feet into the setback. We'll be coming 2 feet further, so we'll be cutting that deck off right there and coming 2 feet further out. The four-season porch will just be built onto the existing deck in the back, but it'll come 2 feet further this way.
okay.
On 2 feet further than what the existing deck is 6 feet off the house now, will be coming 2 feet further back.
And the existing structure right now is, you said you had about 3 feet before the setback? Is that what you?
Right, approximately, yeah. Setback line right here to the house about 3 feet. So the existing deck comes 3 feet into the setback already,
All right.
so.
And you're taking over that space essentially.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're giving yourself a pad because obviously if we approve the variance, that's the line. Chip's not going to let you go beyond that.
Right, that's why I'm
At the
asking
risk of
for
tearing
permission.
things out,
Right.
obviously. Okay, so you do have some pad that if you needed to move a little bit, that you've got some flex there, which is always a good thing. We encourage that. All right. Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? No? Good. Okay. Go ahead and have a seat.
Okay.
We'll go around the room. Are there any approving abutters for this application? No one? Any disapproving abutters? No one? All right. Public at large? Other boards? Okay. And obviously, nothing was said, but you have the opportunity to rebut anything. So if you'd like to speak again, you have that opportunity. All right. All right. This time, I guess we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. It's 8:18, it looks like. Any discussion for the board members on this? I'm here. Okay. Obviously, it's a variance, so there's 5 points of hardship. Each one will vote on each point of hardship, and all 5 points of hardship will have to receive at least 3 votes to pass. So.
I think it was well presented, and it's pretty straightforward, so I'd like to move that we accept number 1.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor of prong one, the variance of 18, I believe it's, what is it, 18-2? It's just, actually, it's lists Article 18, or Article 18. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So 5-0. Can I get a motion for prong two?
I'll make a motion, accept prong two.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Motion for prong three?
I'll make a motion, prong three.
Second?
Aye.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Motion for prong four?
I'll make a motion to accept prong four.
Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, 5-0. And,
Move to accept number 5 in its entirety.
I'll second it.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And all those opposed? 5-0. Sir, you have your variance. Go ahead and check with Chip, and
Very much, gentlemen.
not a problem.
And quick, on his behalf, when you said that there was nowhere else to put it, there's only one other flat spot, and this was an education, and it's where the septic system is. The previous owners had a swimming pool on top of the septic system, which I called DES, and they said it's legal.
Nice. Just not good for the septic. Weirborn, I relinquish command.
Well, good night.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. We will now take on case 1418. And people seated for this is Don, Stu, myself, Mike, and Malcolm. Okay, this applicant is Michael Sarakis? Sarakis, okay, I can barely read it, okay. The designer, okay. Is the owner here tonight? Good, okay. Just want to make sure, if not, you gotta sign this paper. Okay, and Nick Fox, and it's 48 East Shore Drive, Weare, New Hampshire. And it's map 101- lots 3 and 4 East Shore Drive. And this, again, it's the same lots. And property description, proposed residence will be constructed on 2 lots created from a prior adoption of this ordinance. Total acreage and 2 combined lots is 0.32 acres. Total frontage is 139.2, and the sidelines vary from 1 to 160.4, I think it is. Was that? It's probably 106.4, even though there's no period, because it would be an awfully oblong.
Lots is 149.2. Sidelines vary from 106.4 to
Okay.
95.4.
All right, I couldn't see the dot. Maybe it's there.
It's there.
Rear of the lots is 128.1. Proposed use, the lot presented are vacant. Mr. Wright proposes, Mr. Fox proposes to construct 2-bedroom house with a drive under garage, and septic system will also be for 2 bedrooms. It should be noted that the DES surface permit, 2-bedroom design, if a 75-foot setback as well, and open water can be maintained, which it is here. What does your proposed use require why does your proposed use require an appeal to the zoning board of adjustment? Existing laws of record have some features that require a house, driveway, garage take place in the location shown on our plan. These features include a wetland drainage way, steep topography on the portion of the lot, and the town requirements of the driveway with at least with a 10% slope or less. Okay. The application has checklist completed. Your points of hardship are here, and I think you did ×3, am I correct? And butters. The delegation and the property schedule. Okay, come on. Okay,
Do you want to do them one at a time?
we're going to. We accepted the application yet? No. Let's accept the 3 applications. Now let's accept 141A, which I mean all 3, for the sake of opening the conversation. Motion?
I'll make the motion to accept case number 1418A and
Mr. Chairman, just a question before we proceed. In the application, looking at prong 5, part B. Well, they're marked NA, and I'm questioning
Well, he
whether or not
doesn't have to answer. He doesn't want to, you got a choice of A or B.
I did A.
Or you could fill both out, and if you
Okay.
don't get one, you might get the other. He chose to do one.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that was the intent. All right.
One thing I wanted to do is, I marked up the plan. You have the septic design.
One second.
I'm sorry.
Okay, any other questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Where would you like to hang that? You
I
put
was
it
just gonna-
there and put it there. You may not be able to get it down and put it up there. If you want to put it here, that doesn't like Dover. You may have to leave it here. That thing doesn't like Dover.
Okay. This is just to get a little bit, what I did here is I showed the building setbacks in blue.
Is that any difference than this?
This is a bigger scale.
We all have a
I
copy.
highlighted it a little bit here because you can see where the impacts are and that we're requesting the variances. The wetland buffer line. Setback line. Pink is where we're asking for variance. Just to clarify a little bit for you.
Where's the entrance to the driveway?
Well, this lot right here that Mr. Fox owns at this point here. This is also, he owns, I believe it's 1 and 2 also.
So,
He's gonna come in off here, and the reason we're doing that is to get the length to overcome the rise, to get a 10% driveway. And that's in conformance with the town zoning, building ordinance.
Zoning.
I'm going to ask a really dumb question, which may pertain to the issue. You're crossing a driveway over land that's not part of this parcel, although it is owned by the applicant.
I thought 1 and 2 had been merged.
They are.
Are they 1, 2, 3, and 4 on one?
They're
No.
two separate parcels here.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, he owns 1 and 2, that's his septic system for his properties over here.
Okay, I understand that, but my problem is you're using a different lot for the access. And I know they're very tiny lots. I'm not arguing, I'm just saying, I gotta think about this for a second, but
Right.
that's usually non-standard, even though he owns both. The lot's separate than this entity.
The limit of the zoning, though, for the wetland buffer that we're asking stays on where the lots of record that we're asking for.
I'm not arguing, I'm saying this is not on this lot.
Okay.
Just pointing it out, there's an issue. I haven't figured out if it's a real problem yet. But before we go through all the 5 points, I actually have a picture in my phone. I went and took a picture of the entrance, which states, I can read it off, if I can find it. I don't know how to do it. Anyways, it says that it's a Class 6 road, and there is a maintenance agreement on the Class 6 road, and the Public Works Director, road agent, is the person sort of overseeing this authority of it. Am I correct? Now,
That is correct, right?
when I saw there was a maintenance agreement, I asked Chip if we have a maintenance agreement anywhere, and he says, a reasonably exhaustive look throughout the four walls of this building produced none. But you do have a copy of the actual agreement changing over from a private to a Class 6 road in 2001.
I have a copy of the Articles of Incorporation. Now, supposedly, from the research that I did, there is a copy of the road maintenance agreement that may possibly be in a folder that the president of the association has. I think his name is Nick Smith or something like that. But no one can produce a copy of it, and he did not get back to me.
So, the first problem is, since the town accepted this road, which is, I'm shocked they did. Towns don't accept Class 6 roads typically. I don't know what extraordinary purpose was done to allow that to happen. They must have had a good line because they accepted it, which now means it's a Class 6 road, which doesn't really change much as far as what we're doing here. But since the acceptance of the road was also predicated on having a maintenance agreement, and if we do anything here, we want to make sure that we're not in violation of that. Because it's rumored that the road right away, and this is only rumored, I have nothing to go by, is 40 feet wide. And frankly, when I drove up there, I mean, even in the limited population up there now, people still driving, parking in the road, because there's no other place for them to park. So, I see in your 5 points of hardship, you talk about life and safety access. Well, principally for the state under 674-41, which is the governing document for the state on private Class 6 roads, it's all about access. And you basically have measured by his odometer, which is, I think, measured 210, so it clicked twice, getting up to lot 48. So you have 1,000 feet, and when we measured the plowed area, it was slightly under 18 feet wide. I can't tell how much additional material may have been either side. So the principal issue of this board is making sure that when we do grant this, even though there have been many grantings along the 50, 60, 70 years that's been done, I don't know how long the first one been. I would believe it's even earlier than that. I think they were pocketed before that, but you're right. And the further you go, the more challenging it is, I would say. One of our biggest decisions is that, I'm not saying in this case, but I'm saying in most of the cases, is that we laid the requirement of complying with the Article 36, which is a driveway permit, which gives ups, downs, sideways, left to rights, and the width, and turning off areas every so many feet. And the real issue is narrow road. If there's a fire out there, I mean, nobody gets upset if the house burns, but somebody in the house, that's the critical issue. And then once you get the hoses laid down, you can't get in there. And now people have gotta run, 4 or 5 of these guys gotta go huff that thing an eighth of a mile in there almost, a quarter mile in there. And then they gotta turn back and come back, and multiple times if there's multiple people, so. This is certainly more challenged than any Class 6 road we've done. And I've been here 30 years, and I don't remember when it's congested, so. There's a bunch of challenges here. And the first one being,
That's why we're here, because I believe in order to build on a Class 6 road, you need.
you need a variance,
That's
but
what-
you need to get a variance. And I'm suggesting that there's a couple of challenges here, like, I'm not suggesting it's gonna kill it, but there's a problem, I think, in terms of having the access not on the lot. And I know why you haven't got it on the lot, because
You need to run.
you need to run, and you already have at least, I didn't get out of the car, maybe 5 or 6 foot cut in front of the lot.
No, not for the driveway.
No, I'm saying when you go past the lot. When you go front, I'm talking about.
Okay, on the road itself?
Yes.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
probably 6. Now, who owns the location where the gas tank is? Is that your neighbor?
That's me.
So you still own that indention there?
Correct.
Okay. I didn't see that on here.
What lot is that number?
Gas tanks where? Is that the gas tank there?
No, that's the little driveway, it's like a turnaround right there.
Where's the gas tank?
Oh,
It's
okay.
over here, ain't it?
No. Is it on the septic lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over here.
No, it's
That
not.
was over here?
So this is the shore.
You know what, I got something.
No, where's your gas tank?
Right.
It'd be,
Well, I'm sorry, it's right here. Sorry.
so your gas tank's actually where your lots, where your driveway's gonna be?
Well, no, it's further back. I mean, I'm not telling you exactly where it is.
Okay.
No, the gas tank.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure it was on this one. Yeah, we have that.
This is the old one.
Oh,
Okay, this is the existing septic you have out there. Where's the gas tank he's looking for? This is that turnaround somewhere in here. The lot, there's a pin right here.
Yeah, it's right there.
where's he showing?
There's the lake.
So,
There's the tank.
This is the lots
right,
1
there's
and
a
2.
tank, so this is like kind of a cut into the bank there. You can park 2 or 3 cars.
Correct, yeah, that's why it's
Okay.
right there, yeah.
So, this is the access you're gonna have, so your septic's off over here to this side,
Different place.
in this area?
Correct.
Well, I think it's appropriate, before we continue on the case, we want to have a current, and I don't know if there's any multiple revisions, but we want to have the accepted articles of agreement, and really want to look at the agreement on the maintenance to see what you're expected to do, and then we'll see if you might be doing it, not you personally, but the association might be compliant.
Suppose it doesn't turn up.
Huh?
Suppose you can't find it.
I'm gonna talk to my legal advice.
I mean, let's face, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
But if I've understood it correctly, and I don't know, because I'm only telling you what I've heard, most of the people on that road signed it, or did the majority of the people sign it? And if so, there ought to be a copy running around here somewhere. May take a little legwork.
You may want to check the registry of deeds.
2001.
It's in,
It appears that it has not been registered,
no?
not recorded.
Yeah, there's nothing on our lots that was given to us on agreement. I know that, and soon you guys.
Wait, we can't have a conversation. You can come up from here. Just because nobody can hear you out home, you don't get picked up on these microphones. They're only for here. So my concern is, we ought to get all the facts. And you may have a problem with that driveway. I know why you're doing it. Is there any prohibition why you couldn't combine those 4 lots into one? Sure.
Yeah, I just was looking at, trying to keep them separately. I mean, they're common ownership.
Here's the point. He could sell it off tomorrow, and he's got another lot for somebody will want to come in here and buy. It is hyper small. It's 0.2 acres at best.
I may be able to shorten that up and bring it in here, because I got this long gap, I have 2 foot and all this length here. If I could bring it in here. I see what you're saying, too.
I'm just saying, what before us is that, and we're gonna hear about that. That's what we're talking about. So, you wanna say something about?
Well, yeah, I don't think the driveway itself would start on that other lot. That's just
Well,
parking.
It's shown there. I mean, I didn't draw the drawing. I'm
I mean,
saying, it
it's a
shows on not on the
flat-
lot.
It's flat, so there's no difference or change. We're not gonna,
I was just trying to get some rise
Right.
going up on the thing, so we're gonna make the driveway, instead of being up, you know.
Well,
I'm
you
trying to
can't
make-
be over 10%.
With a waiver, you get 15 up to 15, but I'm trying to keep it under.
I'm just saying, what you gave us, I know your intent, but I would suggest there's a problem there, but
but if you look at the lot, and I don't know if it shows it there, it's completely flat all the way till the stream.
what's your prohibition of combining those up?
I guess there isn't, I mean, I guess we could do it. Those 2 lots that have the septic belong to the house that's across the street on the lake, so.
The septics belong across the street from the lake. You own the land.
Right.
It has to do with loading for the state, too. I don't want to mess up the loading and the well radiuses and everything like that.
You're gonna have to redraw your picture.
But to answer the question earlier where you said about the road, and again, Sue could probably, the only thing I know that is required by any of the homeowners on there is just a $200 fee to help maintain the road. But the road itself won't be affected at all by the drive, because we won't even be anywhere on that road.
I'm just saying, we're adding more vehicles on the road. And I think it's appropriate to see the maintenance road. And I'm not gonna go out and look for it, nor the board. Chip made a good faith effort to check in the 4 walls of this building and 2 floors, and even people have been here forever and a day, and they couldn't find it. So, I mean, if you insist on us going forwards tonight, we can go forwards tonight. But I can tell you, I think it's important we get that, make a good faith effort, and if you have anybody that has any information, I'd like to get it, because we're not gonna relax you of any of it we already required. Okay, so in order for us not to step on the other thing, the other thing is, you gotta make us, you gotta do analysis, see if you can even make Article 36.
For driveways?
No, I missed my, maybe I didn't read something. When we approve, when we have recently, over the last few years, 3-4 years, since Article 36 came out as a drive restrictor, which is supposedly compliant by the National Fire Protection Association, which has a document which basically says you do these kind of things if you want to kind of use some reasonable access for fire, police, and public safety on driveways. As a minimum standard for granting the use of the road, be it private, be it Class 6, we have required that the road be upgraded so it would stand to that level.
What about all the houses that are out there right now?
Lucky them. Then I'd ask them for variances. I'm telling you, they got the worst chance, because it's even more challenging every step you take on that road. I mean, this is probably the most challenging road, and it's got the most lots. You go on the other ones on the lake, and they are consistent. But I'm giving you some advice, because if we turn this down, and you don't have a materially different application, you can't come back. And if you, after 30 days, you don't challenge us, go to Superior Court. Or if you lose, you can't come back. One shot on the variance, unless you come in with a materially different, and you don't have many more options here to be materially different. So,
I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding. This lot precedes all of this. So like in previous cases here, you've cited the fact that there's a certain amount of leniency given to other pieces of property because they were created substandard.
You mean tonight's
Substandard,
meeting?
yes. You mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So what we have here is 2 lots of record go back to the 50s.
He's on a Class 5 road.
I understand that.
This is not a Class 5.
Right.
You require a variance under 1711, and if you think it's gonna be tough going through us, when you're done with us, if you get 1711 passed, you then have to go before the select board and get approval to use the road, because it's now their road. It doesn't matter whether it's private. Under 67441, required to get approval from the select board. Select board is required to ask for review and comment from the planning board. The planning board typically asks both the fire and road agent to weigh in. So, this is step one on the journey. We put minimum standards down that we feel is required to allow safety of passing. And the convenient article that we picked to assure that, at least within the NFPA, Article 36.
Okay.
So, we can go forwards, or,
You already pretty much told me where you're going with it, so I don't think it's worth.
well, I think you ought to go and analyze what we spoke about here tonight. Produce the document, figure out lot 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, and go do an analysis of what your interpretation of 36 as a starting point, because we're gonna ask those questions. I'd rather do this so we don't have to go through this whole thing and then say at the end, oh, by the way, come back and start over again.
Yep.
We're not like the planning board where we have a conceptual design. We have these conversations. That's why we accept, so we can't even talk about this till we at least find this acceptable. Then once we're in here, before you go up and do your 5 points, we ask the board if there's any questions. The reason we do that is we don't get all the way to the end. We find out somebody has a real point that would have prevented us from even continuing. So, done this for 30 years, scar tissue. For everybody's benefit, the applicant, the abutters, and the town itself, is to try to get everything on the table. Now, I'm not suggesting we're gonna put Article 36 on it. I'm suggesting, if you look at the last 5 years, or 3 or 4 years, whenever 36 became available, we've not done that as a minimum requirement. And most places can do it because setbacks, houses are set back. There's a lot of property to move the road if they have to, and make a turnoff every 400 feet, 20 feet wide, so 2 vehicles go past at 50 feet, all that kind of stuff. So,
I will say that if you look as you drive in there, on the left side of the road, there's almost no houses, clear to, and he has a turnout already there on that. I'm just saying.
you are true, and they even plowed it. But there is no 50-foot turnoff at 1,000 feet, 800 feet, which is coming close to your property. I think it's beneficial for the board and for your client understand the concerns before we go off and make a decision. And I think it's reasonable for you to ask for a continuance. If you want to come back with more information, if you don't want to come back after you've asked for a continuance, just say, we withdrew our application. You know what I'm saying?
Well, can I ask a question? None of the stuff that we were asking a variance for had anything to do with the road maintenance agreement. So the variances we're asking for.
Yeah, but you can't tell me what's in there.
But
yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm
find
saying,
it.
look,
So,
hate to say this, but I happen to be an engineer by profession. I like to know what's going on, especially with specifications.
right, so I got a question. So our single-family home, 2-bedroom, what would that do to change the road in your mind as an engineer?
Somebody's got to come into your place and get you out of there, and/or your family when it's on fire. If they can't get to it, there's not proper access, and we gave a permit to you to build after zoning. So we're giving you a relief to zoning, that's the problem. If this was all built beforehand, we wouldn't be here tonight. That's the issue. We are required you are required to be compliant with zoning, or if you want to proceed, you need to get a variance. We're into granting the variance phase here. That's the difference. You're late to the game, so to speak.
Right.
30 years ago, you've been okay.
I thought since these were zoned for houses in the 50s, that was prior
These are
to.
non-conforming
Right.
lots, and they're a tenth of an acre. I mean, they were really campsites when this was originally laid out. Literally, nobody lived out there. I mean, somebody might have had a shack, but not a house. And since that time, people have incrementally, without zoning pushing back on them, got it to where it is now. Well, up to 30 years ago. And now, incrementally, it's becoming a problem.
When was the last house built up, do you know?
I really
Last
don't
time
know.
somebody's come for.
I really don't know. Even if it was before 5 years, we've been applying Article 35 over the last, I don't know. How long has Article 35 been operating? I can probably tell you.
Probably at least 5, but I've been here 15 years and nobody's built a house out there.
It's public record what,
Seems like only yesterday.
what we have approved for Class 6 roads, particularly in the last 6 months. There's been several of them.
Well, we do.
And, I mean, that would give you a standard that we're gonna hold you to for safety. And it's, without that road maintenance agreement, you're kind of left shorthanded because you're gonna bear the cost of that without a road maintenance agreement.
So the cost of what?
The road standards that we're gonna hold you to
I spent
if we were to
36,
approve
I'm
it
sorry.
on a variance for the Class 6 road.
If I said 35, I meant 36.
So my application to build a single-family home, you're gonna make me fix the entire road that the house is on?
That's the conditions that we have historically put on Class 6 roads.
Other people. They may have been shorter than you. The whole issue is life and safety. Why does zoning exist? To provide life and safety and protection from abutters and all this kind of stuff. The principal issue here on this challenge road is the ability to get in there. We granted you that, and we didn't have a reasonable way to get in there, or some logic for it. It'd be kind of nutty.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say, 2015, this driveway was, Article 36 was put in 315, you can look at the article, it's right here, it says when amended. And we have been holding all applicants to that standard.
So you're saying that the fire department can't get on the road at all, or to the house?
NFPA, the zoning adopted NFPA, National Fire Protection, as a recommendation for access on driveways. This is a driveway. We don't have a Class 6 of private road specification. So for the convenience of the board, so we're not developing it ourselves, which we were doing, trying to, as a board, define a spec. We said it's at least got to meet the driveway spec, at least. And if the selectmen put on additional on top of that, we're a minimum standard. I mean, I think we kind of beat this to the ground. We just generally don't have a discussion on this, but I think this is complicated enough that fairness to you, fairness to the board, we both know more than we did before. And you might consider the lot combining. I'm not suggesting do it, but you may think about that. And take a look at 36 and see if it's something you can work with and how you become, show us how you're going to be compliant. Prima facie, it looks like you have some challenges. The past ones was pretty simple. The road already exists. Pretty good road, they gravel it, there's a base. You got a pretty good road. I don't know how wide it is. If you at least plowed it 18 feet, whoever did the plowing. So,
It's, I'll look at that. I know the interior radius of the fire truck is 40-something feet, I don't know, something like that.
there's a radius in here. But the issue is, you gotta guarantee that you got enough parking on your lot, so nobody's parking in the road.
It's easy enough to do.
Well, it shows a driveway, I don't know if that's parking. You know, because if somebody,
How many parking spaces do you?
I'm not defining it, I'm just suggesting, you got a problem with your drawing, I'm just telling you what some challenges may be. Everybody seems like the only place they have is parking on the road, whether it's the upside or downside, because the cut is so deep as you go further on, that there is no, I mean, the upside is like a 45-degree angle, and the other side going to the water is 45. Nobody's got any place to park. I hope that helped, I mean, So would you like us to continue this?
Yes, sir.
And you can decide what actions you want to take. We have to continue this for a date certain, which will be the next meeting. We're pretty reasonable. If you're not ready, let us know. Let Chip know.
What's that?
Let Chip know if you're not ready for the January.
It'll be continued to January 8th, and if you need an extension, just let me
If
know.
you wish to withdraw this and come back later, that's a
Well,
clean.
what we gotta do is we gotta find, I'll call you tomorrow about this.
Okay, afternoon.
You know the guy that collects the money for
Craig,
the,
yeah. Craig. His
Craig?
name's Craig.
Slattum?
Yeah, Craig was not able to find it for me. Steve Elliott claims there is a copy of it and may be in the hands of the president of the association.
How would you like to leave this? Because we gotta leave it.
Continue to January 8th.
Do you want to continue to January 8th? If you can't make January 8th, then you think it's probably February, which would be the first Tuesday in February. As long as there's no, is that first Tuesday in February? Should be. You did the schedule. And if you, get more than 2 times without a good reason, you know. If you want to withdraw, no harm, no foul. But if we turn you down in your absence, if you don't show up,
Yep.
then it's a no and you can't come back.
You'll be,
Yeah. So the bottom line is, if we don't, we've gotta find that agreement.
Well, there's one, you got a series of hurdles. Find the agreement, figure out what your configuration, what your lot's gonna be. You come in what you want it to be. We're not having to interpret this text, it's what it is. And I'm trying to make this up, but you need to demonstrate you can comply with 36.
As far as turnoffs and stuff like that, and whatever. The road
We just had a 1,300-foot class 6, that's gotta comply with that. It really is a cow path now, not a road.
No, it's another one in town.
Yes.
It's all in the minutes from previous months, though. You could see what we've typically approved.
We're not making this up. This is
Yeah.
has been our consistent position for applying conditions. I can't say what it's gonna be till we get through the meeting. But highly likely 36 will be on there. Article 36.
Okay.
Make sense?
A little bit of work.
May not be happy, but I understand. It's better than getting all the way through it and then telling you,
Yeah.
you might want to go reconsider. I don't like exercising people, but I think there's enough here that we have to open the meeting up before we can talk to you about it, because we can only talk about it in the meeting. Sounds kind of goofy, but that's the way it works. And then we'll keep this open. So a motion to continue?
Move
I'll
to
make the motion to continue, case
Second.
number 1418,
A, B, and C?
A, B, and C.
And for 4th? No, 12th, 10th?
8.
8th, got it close. 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Do you know the
None, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sounds like a 5-0. Continue.
Thank you.
Thank you, gents. We have minutes.
1 minute, let them out the door.
30 seconds.
That's concise. I like that.
I read them. I think they're pretty straightforward.
With that, we're gonna take a vote on it?
Do you have any thoughts on the matter?
No.
Other than a German on your mind? Anybody's name spelled wrong? We're good.
Make the motion to accept November 13th minutes.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Stu, you want to talk about it? You want to talk, you don't want to talk about it, do you? I asked for discussion.
No.
Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.